Logan Sargeant is having a tough time in Formula 1. After being handed a lifeline at the end of last season, in 2024 we've only seen him continue to underperform compared to his teammate, and also cost the team time and money due to collisions with the barriers, which means Logan is almost guaranteed to lose his seat. But could it happen during the 2024 season, and is Mercedes' wonder kid Kimi Antonelli the driver that will take his place, or has somebody else entered the picture? Let's get into it. You don't need to be eagle-eyed to see that Logan Sargeant is under a lot of pressure this season, and discussions around the second Williams seat are starting to get awkward, especially after the Australian Grand Prix weekend when Logan's car was given to Alex after Alex Albon crashed in practice when the team were without a spare chassis, leaving Logan to perch in the garage despite it being his teammate that made the mistake. But to give Logan the benefit of the doubt, rewinding the clock, it does have to be remembered that Sargeant started his Formula 1 career early due to Williams' driver dilemma in 2022. I mean, Nicholas Latifi had overstayed his welcome on the Formula 1 grid by a considerable amount of time, and with Williams receiving more financial backing and looking to improve, they did need a driver that was closer to Alex Albon's level. They missed out on their first choice, which was Nick De Vries at the time after he went to AlphaTauri, so instead they opted to promote from within their own academy. They would have probably preferred Logan to have another season in Formula 2, but he is talented and found himself in a Williams Formula 1 seat for 2023. However, that first season, he really did struggle to get anywhere near his teammate Alex Albon, let alone beat him at any point, and he only scored 1 point, which was due to very strange circumstances in Austin last year, and he's really started to ruffle some feathers with the team due to his constant crashes. But they gave him another chance, and it's known that coming into this season, despite how last year went, the team were backing Logan Sargeant to improve. I mean, James Vowles has always been very positive about Logan and was clear about the target set for Sargeant to meet this season, with the main goal being to get a lot closer to Alex Albon. He's fallen so short of his teammate again in the first few races, and on top of that, with the midfield this season being so incredibly competitive, remember Williams are yet to score a point with either driver this season. For Williams to actually fly up to those higher branches, the team need to have two competitive cars in the long term, which doesn't feel like it can happen with Sargeant in a seat. So as the 2025 driver lineup start to sort themselves out, and in the wake of Alex Albon confirming his future with the team over the past week, James Vowles talked about how he is in discussions with Logan about his future, and stating that he remains in the car for now and the team are backing him despite the speculation. But the Williams team principal also made it clear that he is talking to other teams and other drivers, meaning he's not ruling out the possibility of a driver move. And it just feels like Sargeant is destined to fly the nest at the end of the season. However, if you could get the next driver into the team already, why wouldn't you? Which is why the rumour mill around replacing Logan Sargeant midway through the season has already started. Something that we do see in Formula 1 when a driver is underperforming. It's not uncommon for a driver to be replaced midway through the season, but they're usually in a Red Bull related seat. Nevertheless, the number one candidate for many seems to be 17-year-old Formula 2 rookie Kimi Antonelli. After all, he is an exciting Mercedes junior like George Russell was when he was in a Williams seat, but the reason this change has gained momentum now is due to a conversation not between Mercedes and Williams, but with the FIA and some mystery team. And after Antonelli skipped Formula 3 to join Formula 2 this season, having won 4 racing series in the last 2 years, he finds himself in the awkward spot of not being 18 until August, which means he's not eligible for a super license due to the minimum age criteria that was brought in after Max Verstappen was fast-tracked onto the Formula 1 grid at 17. But the FIA have said they've received a request for an exemption for Antonelli to get his super license early because he does already have the required experience points gained from driving in Formula 4 and Formula Regional in the last 2 years. The FIA have even gone as far as saying, we are looking into it, but there's a process that has to be followed and multiple people/commissions required to vote and agree to it, as it requires a rule change. At first, it was thought that maybe this was for a Friday free practice session with Mercedes. However, since then, Mercedes has confirmed that they understand the rules and are happy to respect the age limit, meaning they're willing to wait until Antonelli is 18 just after the summer break before he gets himself into a seat in a competitive weekend session with them. So maybe it was somebody else that started the conversation with the FIA about Antonelli's super license. And of the teams on the Formula 1 grid, it seems most likely that that would have been Williams. Unless Red Bull are looking to snatch up another driver and make another mid-season switch. I mean, they convinced Max Verstappen back in the day. Maybe they just want to steal Antonelli too and really ruin Toto Wolff's 2024 beyond the disaster it has already become. So if the swap were to happen, when would it be and what are the repercussions for the future of the team? First of all, when, and I mean the rumours were that it could have happened as early as last weekend in Imola, but the summer break feels like the most likely time in my opinion, because firstly, it gives Kimi Antonelli the time to compete in 10 of the 14 Formula 2 rounds this year, and considering how Prema have started the season so far, it feels like he definitely needs a few more races to really show if he's going to live up to the hype, and if he has started to perform by the summer break, but isn't in the running to win the Formula 2 Championship, for instance, he can at least come into Formula 1 having completed the majority of the season and gained that experience, whilst also allowing him to finish a lot more of the Mercedes testing that he currently has planned. I mean, we've already seen him in Mercedes Formula 1 machinery in Austria and Imola, but there's still a lot more tests in the pipeline. And actually, going back to the super license issue that I mentioned before, it means that if he comes in at the summer break, he would only need a super license exemption for the Zandvoort Grand Prix, which is the first race back after the summer break, because after that he would be 18 and eligible for a license anyway. So there's definitely an opportunity for Kimi Antonelli to come into Williams and for it to work for Williams, Antonelli and the FIA. But from my perspective, it does feel like swapping Sargeant for Antonelli, despite being exciting, would be a mistake for the team. I know that we saw Max Verstappen come into Formula 1 very early and get to grips with it fairly quickly, but the exception doesn't prove the rule, and throwing in a driver that not only lacks experience in Formula 1 machinery because he hasn't done a free practice yet, but has barely started this season in Formula 2 and has skipped Formula 3 completely, would mean there would be a lot for Kimi to learn in not a lot of time, especially if Williams are battling it out with those teams from 10th to 6th in the championship in the second half of the season, where just 1 or 2 points really could swing their position dramatically. And then Kimi Antonelli is under the pressure to deliver a drive which could determine the team's finishing position in the Constructors' Championship. And I'm not sure it even works for Mercedes now that Hamilton is leaving at the end of the season. From one side, you could argue that driving at Williams for half a season could put Antonelli in a better position for Mercedes moving into 2025 because he'd have Formula 1 experience driving in actual Formula 1 Grand Prix. But from the other side, I just don't think Williams would only want him for half a season. They would definitely want to guarantee at least another season with him if he lives up to those expectations. Like the situation that Russell found himself in, where Williams kept hold of him for a good few seasons. And that means that Mercedes, going into 2025, have to replace Lewis Hamilton on a very short-term contract because they will want to get Kimi Antonelli in at some point soon. Although Williams may have already made contact with their alternative pick. Over the course of the Imola Grand Prix weekend, Valtteri Bottas was seen going into the Williams hospitality, where he supposedly had a 15-minute conversation with James Vowles. And although Bottas played it down, saying, "I ran out of coffee in our motorhome, so I needed to get some from there," a move to Williams would make a lot of sense for Valtteri Bottas. He's out of contract at the end of this year, and his seat at Sauber is almost certainly going to be taken by another driver. Nico Hülkenberg is already confirmed for Sauber for 2025 as the team are trying to get their driver lineup ready for when they become Audi in 2026, and they're also rumoured to be interested in signing Carlos Sainz or even Esteban Ocon over Valtteri Bottas, which would leave Bottas without a drive and on the hunt for a seat elsewhere, and he already has links with Williams. Valtteri started his Formula 1 career with Williams in 2013 and raced with them until he made the move to Mercedes in 2017. And that move meant that he became a 10-time Grand Prix winner. But had Nico Rosberg not retired, Bottas would have probably continued with Williams and maybe even still be there now, like a return to the team, replacing Logan Sargeant and helping the team build towards 2026 and beyond. That would be great for him because he's going to get to stay on the grid in a car that's improving, and it's likely that he'll get a longer term contract there than he would anywhere else. And from Williams' perspective, they get a driver that is undoubtedly an upgrade on Logan Sargeant, but also someone who's been at the team before, has worked with team boss James Vowles before when they were both at Mercedes, and someone I think could help continue their upward trajectory. I think the combination of Bottas and Albon is an incredibly sound and proven driver pairing that would put them in a place where that driver pair wouldn't need changing for a very long time. Which means even though Logan Sargeant does look like he'll be replaced by Williams, I don't think it will be until the end of the season, and I don't think it will be Kimi Antonelli. It's more likely to be a driver in the mould of Valtteri Bottas. However, if you want to know all of my driver predictions for the 2025 season, you can find out in this video here, where I go through the entire 2025 grid and every single team and which driver I think they're going to get. So click that link and I'll see you over there.